Hello, and welcome to Prayer of the First Light. If you want to start each day with words that transform your life and bring you closer to God, this is the right place. Just subscribe to the channel now, activate the notification bell, and walk with us on this journey of faith and inspiration. There was a man named Elijah who lived in a small village surrounded by mountains. He dreamed of crossing the valley and finding the River of Promise, a place the elders said granted peace to those who dared to seek it. But no one ever returned. Fear was the invisible guardian of that journey. One night, as the wind whispered through the trees, Elijah heard a soft voice within him say, "Now is the time." He looked up at the sky, and the stars seemed to light a path. His heart trembled, but something within him knew. The call was not to safety, but to eternity. With a staff in hand and a light backpack, Elijah set out before dawn. With each step, the mist hid the path, and fear whispered, "Go back, there's still time." But there was a spark in his chest, the feeling that even without a map, he wasn't walking alone. The days grew long, and fatigue tried to steal his faith, until, at dusk, he found an old man sitting on the edge of a cliff. The man smiled and said, "Courage lies not in the absence of fear, but in the decision not to stop because of it." Elijah continued, and for the first time, his fear was silenced. Through forests and storms, Elijah reached a desert. The sun was scorching and the water had run out. He fell to his knees and cried out, "Why have you brought me here?" The silence answered, and amidst the sand, a small sprout appeared. It was impossible, but real. The desert had blossomed before him. Elijah understood the miracle does not come before faith, but after surrender. He stood up, drank from the water that welled up around the plant, and walked on, his eyes brimming with tears. Sometimes heaven waits for us to take the step before revealing the ground. Days later, Elijah reached a stone wall blocking the path. He tried to climb it, but fell. He tried to dig, but his hands bled. Exhausted, he leaned against the wall and began to sing. The melody was simple but sincere. And as he sang, he heard a deep sound. The stone began to crack. Each note seemed to open a fissure, and right before him, a passage appeared. Elijah crossed, his heart aflame. He understood then that some walls fall not with strength, but with faith. The entire universe bows before those who sing, even when tired. On the other side, he found the River of Promise. It was not made of water, but of light. The reflection showed not his face, but everything he had become: courageous, mature, whole. The river wasn't a destination, it was a mirror of the journey. Elijah knelt and wept. He realized that the purpose wasn't in the place he sought, but in the transformation the journey had wrought within him. Everything that seemed like delay, pain, or silence was, in fact, polishing. Faith hadn't led him to a river, it had transformed him into one. When Elijah returned to the village, no one believed his story, but he didn't care. The sparkle in his eyes told what words couldn't. At night, he looked to the sky and gave thanks for the fear that pushed him, the waiting that shaped him, and the faith that sustained him. The improbable had become the miracle. And ever since that day, when the wind blows through the valley, some say they hear his voice saying, "Don't wait until you feel the courage to go. Go, and the path will unfold beneath your feet." Because faith never leads where it's easy. It leads where it's eternal. There are days when faith calls you to the improbable. Moments when fear tries to whisper that it's not the right time. But heaven is saying, now is the time. When God pushes you to leave the safety of the familiar, He has already prepared the ground for your feet to tread. Comfort may seem like peace, but sometimes it's just a prison in disguise. It's in the step outside the safe zone that purpose awakens, and when you give to follow, you discover that the impossible was only the beginning of the divine plan. Because faith doesn't take you where it's easy. It takes you where it's eternal. And for we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. Every step forward requires courage, and courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision not to let it stop you. Abraham left his land without a map, only with a promise, and God made him the father of multitudes. So it is with you, called to walk without guarantees, trusting only in the voice that whispers, "Go, I am with you." Fear tries to limit, but faith expands horizons. When you move, the heavens move with you, and each step of faith is a declaration of trust in the God who never fails. Go from your country to the land I will show you. Genesis 12:1. You may look around and everything seems uncertain, but remember, the sea only parted after Moses touched it with his staff. The miracle doesn't come before movement, it comes after obedience. God doesn't need you to see the whole path, only to take the first step. As you hesitate, fear grows, but when you move forward, faith blossoms, and in the midst of the impossible, God proves He has always been in control. The Lord will fight for you. Only be still. Exodus 14:14. There are promises that are only fulfilled on the other side of your courage. Joshua only saw walls fall when he decided to march. Sometimes God asks you to walk in circles just to teach you that victory doesn't depend on logic, but on obedience. Don't doubt the process. Every turn that seems like a loss is part of the plan heaven has written. Keep marching, even when the trumpets haven't yet echoed. Let the mules of Jericho fall. Joshua 6:20. When your soul grows weary and the journey seems too long, remember, even David faced giants with simple stones. The difference was in who walked with him. God doesn't need much to do much. He just needs someone willing to believe. What you hold in your hands may seem small, but in God's hands it is enough to overcome the impossible. So stand up, aim at the giant, and move forward. The Lord gives me victory. 1 Samuel 17:47. There are times when God's silence doesn't mean absence, but preparation. Joseph was forgotten in a prison before being remembered in the palace. Sometimes God hides you to protect you, not to punish you. Anonymity is the field where He shapes the character that will sustain the future. So, if today it seems like no one sees you, remember, heaven has never taken its eyes off you. What God has promised, He will fulfill. Numbers 23:19. Faith doesn't flourish in the calm, but in the storm. Peter only understood the power of Christ when he sank and was raised up. And this is how God works with you. He allows the wind to blow so you can discover who is in the boat. Fear screams, but faith whispers, "Look at me, not at the waves." And when you focus on Jesus, the impossible becomes a path. Come, walk on the water. Matthew 14:29. Every challenge is an opportunity disguised as fear. Elijah hid in the cave until he heard the still, small voice that called him out. Sometimes the noise of life prevents you from realizing that God is whispering direction. Stop, listen, and then move. True faith is silent but powerful. It doesn't need proof, only trust. Stand before the Lord, for He will pass by. 1 Kings 19:11. Don't wait for courage to act. Act, and courage will come. Gideon saw himself as weak, but God called him a warrior. Heaven doesn't speak based on who you are, but on who you will become when you obey. Fear sees limits, faith sees destiny, and when you decide to believe, the impossible bends. But the Lord is with you, O mighty man of valor. Judges 6:12. And if today you feel too small for what God has called you to do, remember, David was a shepherd before he became king, and Mary was unknown before she was chosen. What defines your future is not what you have, but what God has placed within you. So take the step, even if it trembles. Heaven doesn't seek the perfect, it seeks the willing. And I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. When hope ignites within you, something profoundly changes in your words and actions. Your prayers cease to be a desperate request and become declarations of faith. You no longer speak to God asking for the day to end well, but give thanks because you know that He is already in control. Hope makes you see beyond what is visible. It teaches you that the end of the road can be the beginning of a new purpose. And it is in this trust that the impossible begins to take shape, because those who wait on God never stand still. Those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. Isaiah 40:31. When the flame of hope lives in your heart, prayer becomes a conversation of those who know heaven is listening. You don't speak with fear, you speak with certainty, because you've already proven that God doesn't fail. You understand that waiting isn't wasting time. It's being molded to receive what you're not yet ready to carry. Hope is the soul's training for the victory that comes after the test. And when it mixes with faith, the miracle becomes inevitable. For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. Hope changes the tone of your voice when you pray. You stop saying, "if it is possible," and start saying, "I believe it will be," because you realize that God's power is not limited to the size of your problem, but to the greatness of your trust. You begin to see doors where there were only walls, and you learn that falls are not defeats, but steps of growth. This is the language of those who believe even before they see. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. John 20:29. Living hope in a heart transforms even silence into worship. In the moments when words don't come, the Spirit prays for you. And it is in this surrender that God's presence manifests itself with greater strength. He doesn't turn away when you break down. He draws near, because hope is the link that keeps your soul connected to the throne. When you don't give up, heaven moves. A weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. Those who have hope don't ask for the least. They ask for the supernatural. They don't just seek comfort, they seek transformation, because they understand that the God who opens the sea also opens paths in the midst of pain. Hope is the courage to ask for the impossible, knowing that He is capable. And when this faith is mixed with perseverance, the scenario changes. Everything is possible for those who believe. Mark 9:23. Hope is the strength that keeps you praying even when nothing seems to change. It is the daily reminder that God works in silence. It is the seed that grows in tears but blossoms in faith. And when you choose to believe, heaven responds with precision, because God does not forget those who trust. Those who sow in tears will reap with shouts of joy. Psalm 126. When hope dwells within you, you begin to see promises in the storms. You understand that every delay is a preparation and every closed door is protection. The hopeful heart does not despair, it just trusts. And while the world sees an end, you see a new beginning. For I know the plans I have for you. Jeremiah 29:11. Hope is not an emotion, it is a decision. It is choosing to believe even when we are tired. It is continuing to walk even when we have no strength. And that is exactly where God acts. At the moment when everything seems to end, He rewrites history, because hope never fails. It only matures. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is a tree of life. Proverbs 13:12. When you pray with hope, heaven moves with power. Situations that seemed immutable begin to give way. The chains that held you begin to break, because hopeful faith attracts God's presence, and where He is, nothing remains the same. If God is for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. So keep hope alive in your heart, even when the time seems long and the path dark, because God never leaves a prayer full of faith unanswered. He only writes the miracle at the right time, and when it arrives, it will be greater than anything you imagined. The Lord will fulfill His purpose in me. Psalm 138:8. There are days when everything seems still, as if the sky was silent and the promises distant. But it is on those days that God works behind the scenes, aligning every detail you cannot see. As you remain faithful, He is preparing fertile ground for the new to come. Every prayer is a seed planted in the soil of time, and none of them is forgotten. So don't be discouraged if the harvest hasn't arrived yet. It is growing in secret. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Psalm 126:5. When tiredness sets in and discouragement tries to convince you that nothing is changing, remember, waiting is not a punishment, it is training. God has not forgotten you. He is molding you to bear the weight of the blessings that will come. Haste makes us lose our purpose, but patience reveals the power of faith. Even when the winds seem contrary, stand firm, because the direction of God's breath never fails. Those who trust in the Lord will renew their strength. Isaiah 40:31. There are promises that only blossom as you mature, and there are victories that only come when your heart is ready to receive them. Sometimes God delays the result not to deny you, but to protect you. What seems like a delay is, in fact, construction. He is silently polishing you, and His time is never wasted. Keep walking, even with weary steps, because faith doesn't need to rush. It just needs to keep going. We walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. Don't let the fear of failure rob you of the courage to try again. God doesn't demand perfection. He seeks perseverance. Every fall you face is a reminder that you are still on the battlefield, still fighting, and heaven honors those who don't give up. Even when everything seems contrary, the Creator continues to write a plan that goes beyond your imagination. For I know the plans I have for you. Jeremiah 29:11. There are days when God hides you, not because He has rejected you, but because He is protecting you. Sometimes anonymity is the shield of promises still being formed. What is yours is being prepared, and what is God's is never lost. As long as you remain faithful in the little things, He watches over you with love and prepares the much. Be faithful in what is little, and I will put you in charge of much. Matthew 25:21. The secret of victory is not understanding everything, but in continuing even without understanding. When answers don't come, it's because your faith is being tested. God didn't leave you in the dark to punish you, but to teach you to see with your heart. It is in this silence that He speaks loudest. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Perhaps you feel forgotten today, but remember, God never ignores those who trust in Him. He hears even the whisper of your prayers and records every tear that falls. Time may seem long, but God's faithfulness is eternal, and when He acts, it will be at the perfect moment, with divine precision. In my own time, I will bring it about. Isaiah 60:22. Don't compare your process with that of others. Every journey is unique, and God works at different paces for each heart. While you watch others' success, heaven is planning your new beginning. Wait with faith, serve with love, and trust with all your being. What is being prepared for you will require maturity, and time is your greatest ally. You do to everything there is a season. Ecclesiastes 3:1. True victory is not in how much you achieve, but in who you become along the way. God values transformation more than speed. While you seek results, He seeks deep roots that sustain your faith. Keep watering your hope, even if it seems to rain in the desert. Those who wait for the Lord will not be put to shame. Isaiah 49:23. And when the miracle finally arrives, you'll understand that every delay had a purpose. Every tear built the foundation of your faith, and every no from God protected you from something that would have destroyed you. The time of waiting was, in fact, a time of preparation. So celebrate, because what comes from God always arrives at the right time. All things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. Don't let fear steal what God has given you. Faith doesn't eliminate challenges, but it gives you the strength to face them. Look at David. While everyone saw a giant, he saw an opportunity to prove God's power. The difference wasn't in strength, but in perspective. The same God who gave David victory also fights for you today. Believe that no wall is too high when God is your defender. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27:1. God doesn't need favorable conditions to act. He creates paths where there are no roads. When the sea closes before you, it's a sign that a miracle is about to happen. The same God who parted the Red Sea continues to open impossible paths. The key is not to back down. Keep walking, even if your feet tremble, because faith is what moves the impossible. The Lord will fight for you. Only be still. Exodus 14:14. Every challenge you face is a seed of growth. Nothing is in vain when you surrender everything to God. He transforms pain into purpose, failure into a new beginning, and loss into learning. What seems like chaos today will be part of your story of victory tomorrow. God is building something beyond your eyes. Remain faithful, even without understanding the process. All things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. So don't give up. Even if time seems long and the promise is distant, remain steadfast. God does not change, and His word remains eternal. His plan is still in place, and the future is still in the right hands. Hope does not die in hearts that trust in the Most High. The same God who began the good work will complete it in perfect timing and gloriously. He who began a good work in you will also complete it. Philippians 1-6. Hope is the flame that keeps your soul burning even when the wind blows hard against you. It's what keeps you from accepting a dull life when God has called you to live something beyond the natural. Hope reminds you of who is in control, even when everything seems beyond Him. It's not a fleeting feeling. It's a daily decision to believe. When you hold firmly to the promises, the impossible begins to move, not because the scenario has changed, but because you have changed. Hope transforms you before it transforms your surroundings. And when your heart insists on giving up, that's when God teaches you to begin again. Hope does not disappoint us because God's love has been poured into our hearts. Romans 5:5. God is not looking for perfect people. He seeks hearts that, even when wounded, continue to believe, that fall but rise with renewed faith, that weep at night but still believe that the dawn will bring joy. The Lord is not impressed by those who never face storms, but by those who remain steadfast in the midst of them, because true faith is not tested by comfort, but by endurance. Hope is the fuel that moves weary warriors and awakens dormant dreams. It is the sound of courage amidst the silence of fear. Those who wait for the Lord will renew their strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. Maybe you look around and only see closed doors. But know this, God doesn't close paths to punish you, but to redirect you. Hope is the compass that points to purpose, even when the map seems blank. It's the reminder that every no today prepares the ground for a bigger yes tomorrow. Waiting isn't wasted time, it's training. It's in the desert that he teaches us to trust, and it's in scarcity that he reveals his provision. Hope is the invisible seed that one day blossoms before everyone. Keep believing, even when no one understands. For with God, nothing is impossible. Luke 1:37. There are days when the weight of life seems unbearable, when faith seems too small to sustain what you feel. But remember, the same God who calmed the sea also calms your soul. Hope is the bridge between pain and promise. It's what keeps you up when the ground seems to be crumbling. It's not about feeling strong. It's about trusting even when you don't have it. Because hope doesn't depend on circumstances, but on the one who holds it, and the one who holds it is faithful to fulfill. He who promised is faithful. Hebrews 10:23. Often, God allows everything to fall apart, not to destroy you, but to rebuild better. Hope is born in the rubble of what seemed finished. When everything crumbles, it is there that he raises the new. Hope is the divine whisper in the midst of chaos saying, "It's not over yet." And when you believe this, fear loses its power. What was once despair becomes expectation, because where there is faith, there is always a future. Even when everything says otherwise, hope whispers, "Keep going." Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which cannot be moved. Psalm 125:1. Hope is not just waiting. It is waiting with purpose. It is acting, praying, moving, even when you see nothing. It is sowing in the dark, believing that the harvest will come. It is keeping walking when your feet hurt, because you know there is a promise on the other side. God honors those who do not give up. He sees the heart of those who persist even when weary. Hope is the nevertheless of the soul. Even so I will trust. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Psalm 126:5. It's not about denying pain, but about not allowing it to dictate your destiny. Hope doesn't ignore suffering, but goes through it with faith. It teaches you to look beyond the present and see what God is preparing. What hurts today can become a testimony tomorrow, and what seemed like the end can be the exact point of a new beginning. Hope is the light that guides you when your eyes see nothing else. It's the gentle voice saying, "Trust a little more," because even in the valley, he walks with you. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Psalm 23:4. Every time you choose to wait on God, heaven moves on your behalf. Perhaps silently, perhaps without signs, but it moves. Hope is the invisible sound of faith working behind the scenes. When you pray and see no answer, it is a reminder that God is still at work, because he is never late, only on time. And as you trust, he prepares. As you wait, he transforms. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. Hope is the strength that makes the impossible seem just a matter of time. It lifts you up when your body grows weary and sustains you when your mind doubts. It is the breath of faith in the midst of suffocation. When fear says, "I can't," hope responds, "With God, I can." It is the invisible thread that connects the human heart to divine power. And when you hold tightly to this thread, nothing brings you down, because those who have hope are never alone. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Philippians 4:13. Today, decide to rekindle the flame of hope within you. No matter how much time has passed, nor how many times you've wanted to give up, God still has plans you can't even imagine. Hope is the invitation to experience the supernatural amidst the ordinary. It is believing that tomorrow can be different, because the God who writes your story hasn't yet put an end to it. Choose to believe even when weary. Choose to hope even when there are no signs, because hope always wins. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Jeremiah 29:11. When everything seems at a standstill, when doors won't open and time insists on testing you, remember, God's silence isn't denial, it's preparation. He works in the invisible while you remain steadfast in the visible. Keep believing even when there are no signs, for true faith doesn't need to see to continue. For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. There are times when God delays, not because he has forgotten you, but because he is paving the way for the weight of the blessing to come. Sometimes delay is protection, not punishment. Don't despair when the process seems long. Gold also needs to pass through the fire before it shines. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. When doubt tries to visit you, remember Abraham, who waited years for a promise that seemed impossible. He didn't have a map, just a word, and it was this word that sustained him. So hold fast to the promise, even when everything seems contrary. He who promised is faithful. Hebrews 10:23. Don't let the storms make you forget who is in the boat with you. When the winds blew against the disciples, Jesus was there, sleeping but present. He doesn't leave in crises. He simply teaches you to rest while he works. The Lord will fight for you, and you will keep silent. Exodus 14:14. When everything seems at a standstill, when doors won't open and time insists on testing you, remember, God's silence isn't denial, it's preparation. He works in the invisible while you remain steadfast in the visible. Keep believing even when there are no signs, for true faith doesn't need to see to continue. For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. There are times when God delays, not because he has forgotten you, but because he is paving the way for the weight of the blessing to come. Sometimes delay is protection, not punishment. Don't despair when the process seems long. Gold also needs to pass through the fire before it shines. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Psalm 35. When doubt tries to visit you, remember Abraham, who waited years for a promise that seemed impossible. He didn't have a map, just a word, and it was that word that sustained him. So hold fast to the promise, even when everything seems contrary. He who promised is faithful. Hebrews 10:23. Don't let the storms make you forget who is in the boat with you. When the winds blew against the disciples, Jesus was there, sleeping but present. He doesn't leave in crises. He simply teaches you to rest while he works. The Lord will fight for you, and you will keep silent. Exodus 14:14. Waiting is the field where faith matures. It is in delay that the heart learns to trust beyond circumstances. When God seems silent, it is because he is writing the perfect ending to history. Those who wait for the Lord will renew their strength. Isaiah 40:31. Perhaps you are looking at today and seeing no fruit. But remember, the farmer does not plant and harvest in the same day. Continue watering with faith, because the harvest will come at the right time. To everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. Ecclesiastes 3:1. It is not the size of the problem that defines the outcome, but the size of your faith in the one who promised to be with you. David did not defeat Goliath by strength, but by trust. When you trust in God, the impossible becomes small before his greatness. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. 1 John 4:4. Even if the path is narrow, follow it. Even if the burden seems heavy, trust. God hasn't brought you this far to abandon you now. Every step, every tear, every prayer has a purpose. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Joshua 1:5. The promise hasn't died, it's just being prepared. The same God who gave birth to Isaac at the exact time is the God who will fulfill what he promised you. He never arrives late. He arrives at the right time, his. For the vision waits for its appointed time, Habakkuk 2:3. So rise today with renewed faith. What God began, he will finish. Keep praying, keep believing, keep obeying. Hope is not lost. It is alive because it comes from the one who never changes. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Hebrews 13:8. Let faith be the filter through which you see every detail of your life. Even when everything seems confusing, God is still writing something greater. What seems like the end today could be the beginning of a new purpose tomorrow. Nothing is beyond the reach of the one who transforms chaos into a path. When pain tries to blind you, remember, there is a plan hidden within God's silence. For we walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. Let divine love be the voice that defines who you are, not the scars of the past. God doesn't measure you by mistakes you've made, but by the grace he pours out on you every day. Shame may try to hold you back, but the cross has already set you free. Each morning, he renews hope and calls you to begin anew. The Lord's mercies are new every morning. Lamentations 3:23. Don't let the weight of loss stop you from moving forward. What you've lost doesn't define what's yet to be built. God specializes in giving beauty to ashes and purpose to tears. Even when the ground disappears, his hand remains firm beneath your feet. Trust, nothing is wasted in the Creator's hands. All things work together for good to those who love God. Romans 8:28. If fear tries to steal your courage, remember who is by your side. Moses trembled before the sea, but God opened the impossible. The same power that guided him through the waters also sustains you today. Walk, even if the winds are strong. Miracles happen in the step of faith. The Lord will fight for you. Be strong. Exodus 14:14. When doors close, don't give up. Perhaps God is guiding you toward a path you haven't yet seen. Joseph was betrayed, sold, forgotten, but the plan never ceased. Sometimes delay is just a disguise for preparation. Wait in faith, for what is yours is being shaped in the unseen. He who began a good work will also complete it. Philippians 1:6. There are promises that blossom in deserts, and it is there that God reveals your strength. David was anointed before defeating Goliath, and yet he faced years of solitude. The promise did not fail, it simply matured. In due time, God brings forth life where there was only waiting. Those who sow in tears will reap with shouts of joy. Psalm 126:5. Don't look back with regret, but with gratitude. Every fall was a step up to this point. God never wastes pain. He transforms it into testimony. Your past is not a burden. It is a reminder that grace has won. Keep going, because there are still chapters heaven wants to write. Forgetting what is behind, I press on toward the goal. Philippians 3:13. Even when you don't understand, trust. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the daily choice to believe beyond logic. Peter sank, but Jesus lifted him up. Failure didn't nullify the calling. It only revealed dependence. God doesn't give up on those he has called. The righteous will live by faith. Romans 1:17. If the road seems long, remember, even the desert has a direction. Israel walked for 40 years, but it was never alone. The cloud guided by day, the fire illuminated by night, and the same God still guides your steps. What seems like a delay is only the pace of the promise. The Lord is the one who goes before you. Deuteronomy 31:8. Go with your heart steadfast and your eyes lifted high. What God spoke about you still stands. No disappointment is too deep for his restoration. You carry within you the seal of promise and the sound of victory. Walk in faith, because the one who called you is faithful to fulfill it. Faithful is he who calls you, who also will do it. 1 Thessalonians 5:24. Prayer. Lord, at this beginning of prayer, I take a deep breath and let my heart align with your presence. I know there are paths I don't understand and silences that weigh heavily, but I trust that your timing is perfect. Even when I see no way out, you have already prepared the way. Therefore, I rest in you, and I choose to follow with faith. Each step I take is a yes to your purpose, and each wait is a seed of trust. My God, there are days when everything seems still, but today I believe that even when the sky is silent, your love works in secret. Each tear is a prayer that rises, and each prayer is a miracle that descends. Teach me to trust even in the dark, to see hope where there is only dust. Because your silence is not absence, it is preparation, and while I wait, you are shaping me with tenderness. Lord, when fear tries to hold me back, remind me of Elijah, who walked without a map, but with faith, and found your promise in the desert, that may I also dare to walk, even trembling, even tired. May I learn to see your power in the little things, and realize that the impossible only exists until the moment I decide to believe. You are the God who transforms a desert into a garden and tears into testimony. Father, there are walls before me, but I will not fight with strength. I will fight with faith. May my song be stronger than my fear. May the sound of my trust shatter the stones that surround me, and may I see your movement in the midst of the impossible, because when I sing, even tired, the heavens open, and your glory finds space in my heart. Teach me not to stop because of fear, but to walk because of the promise. Lord, when time seems too long, remind me that delay is never oblivion. It is polishing. You do not leave me waiting for punishment, but for love, because only those who mature in faith can bear the weight of the blessings that come. So mold me in silence. Lord, strengthen me in the hidden, and may each day be another step toward the purpose your heart wrote for me. And when I finally see the miracle before me, may I not only see the result, but recognize the process, because it was in it that I became stronger, more grateful, more yours. What seemed like pain was preparation. What seemed like delay was protection, and what seemed like an end was just the beginning of eternity. Therefore, today and always, I thank you, Lord, because everything that comes from you arrives at the right time. Amen. If this prayer touched your heart, write amens in the comments, share this video with someone you love, and click the like button to help us bring this message to more people. Subscribe now to the Prayer of the First Light channel.